How you doing, Pure? Good to see you. Evening. Happy Pisces. Good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Tall. Good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening, Miles of CMF. Good to see you as well, Tall. How you doing? How's everyone been today? Good, bad, or just starting out, depending on where you are around the world. Paul. Good to see you as well. How you doing? Hi, all. Good evening, Miles of CMF. Bull XRP. Good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Butch, good evening, Miles and Comfort. Good to see you as well, Butch. How you doing? Scott, good to see you as well. How you doing, brother? How you been? Good evening, brother Miles and CMF family. Good to see you as well, Funky brother. How you doing? How you been? George, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Sule, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Dale, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Ian, good evening, Miles and family. Good to see you as well, Ian. How you doing? Dennis, good to see you as well. How you doing, brother? Sule, hello, CMF. Let's go. I'm second again tonight. Jeez. T, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hey, Miles and family. We good? How are you doing, Miles? I'm doing great today. Bro, what has happened? Bro, what has Iran done? Basically crashed the markets. Yes, Iran launching towards Israel has damaged the markets. It is correct. But it was something that so we're going to go through that news. We're going to go through the news of war because it's impacting the markets. Because, I mean, regarding this particular war, Iran and Israel have, just to point out as well, just to point out one thing, actually, beforehand. Regarding Iran and Israel, I mean, the Iranian people are with Israel. The Iranian government, not so much. And so that tension has always been there with Israel and the Iranian government. The Iranian people actually like Israel. The Israeli people. So yeah, but this war has started a crash inside the market space. Hi, Miles of CMF. G, good to see you as well. How you doing? Morning, Miles of CMF. Shelly, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? LOL CMF got auto changed to comfort. All good. Just brought more XRP. The end is near. I feel it in my water. Let's go, Pure. Family, if you do not mind, share the live. Yes, definitely share the live. Evening, Miles of CMF. Joe, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Manny, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Camel, hi, boss. How you doing? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Free and Forever, good to see you as well. How you doing? I think it was eventable and with Iran and Israel going at it. Yes, Iran and Israel going at it. I mean, it's a very long history between those two countries, mainly with the government of Iran. As I said before, the people of Iran actually support Israel. The government of Iran is the one that's against Israel. Dollar cost average buy times what Bull XRP said. Bitwise has applied for XRP ETF in America's state of Delaware. It is true, yes, and I shared the documentation so everybody can go check that out because the person that tweeted today regarding XRP ETF, Bitwise, that's essentially the XRP ETF for Bitwise on Delaware state, they just tweeted an image, but they didn't put a link of anything for anybody to go and check it out, the legitimacy of it. So I reposted with that link. I think Bitwise has applied. Yes, they have. Hi, Miles. Harry, good to see you. How you doing? Crypto markets is the most volatile market as anything happens geographically. Crypto goes down first. Yes, it does. Ironically, a while ago we were talking about how Bitcoin is supposed to be hedging against scenarios like this. And the moment the missiles were essentially launched from Iran, Bitcoin went just straight away down. And Bitcoin is supposed to be hedging against scenarios like this. The people that sold off their Bitcoins most likely put it into gold because gold started shooting up. Not saying all the money went but some money went towards gold as a safe haven, which is ironic. I mean, Bitcoin is supposed to be seen as a safe haven as well. And this what essentially comes back to a very long time ago and a while ago, I was saying that Bitcoin is supposed to be hedging against scenarios like this. And I showed a few examples that it's failed to hedge against scenarios like this. Not saying it's a bad asset. Bitcoin is not a bad asset. It's a brilliant asset. But I said it's supposed to, hedge against scenarios of geopolitical tensions. Chinese real estate company fails, Bitcoin goes sliding downwards. Japanese market is having troubles, Bitcoin goes sliding downwards. a war starts in the Middle East, Bitcoin starts sliding downwards, which is odd because Bitcoin is always described as the hedge against war, the hedge against essentially Chinese real estate companies falling, the hedge against Japanese market space getting damaged. And I've always said it's supposed to hedge against these scenarios, and it's always seen as supposed to, but in reality it doesn't. It goes the other way. It goes swinging right back down. And gold, as always, is seen as the safe haven. And the interesting part about it is BlackRock recently put Bitcoin, it was just 2 days ago, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 days ago, BlackRock came out and said, we're putting Bitcoin in the risk of asset category. If they put Bitcoin in the risk of asset category, that means Bitcoin is alongside gold. Gold is a risk of asset, essentially, category as well. Risk of asset means it's a safe haven. You know, geopolitical tensions happen, anything happens around the world, gold is safe. Therefore, it's in a risk of category. And BlackRock 3 days ago, put essentially Bitcoin in the category of risk of asset. And 3 days pass, a war starts, Bitcoin goes. I said it's supposed to hedge against scenarios like this, and it never does. Now, on tonight's live show, we have a lot of things to discuss on tonight's live show. A lot of things are happening around the world that's impacting the market spaces. A lot of geopolitical tensions that's going on, which we're going to go into discuss in a little bit more detail. So this is the CMF live show. If you're watching this for the first time ever, it stands for Crypto Miles Family. And on this live show, every single night, you can tune in where I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world. And I talk about cryptocurrency news, CBDC news, AI news, political news related to cryptocurrencies and market space. And we also do Q&As on this live show as well, which means if you have any questions, put them down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. And the disclaimer of this live show, as always, is not financial advice, no political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. And there's a lot of matters to discuss on tonight's live show, a lot of things to discuss. And we're going to do a rundown of what we're going to go through on tonight's live show. By the way, this is episode 170 of the CMF live show, which is absolutely an amazing milestone. So, on tonight's live show, we are going to be discussing these news topics. The first news topic we're going to go through on tonight's live show is regarding bank liquidities. There's a big issue happening regarding that matter. So we're going to talk about bank liquidities, the first topic we're going to go through. Then we're going to go through Bitwise filing for XRP ETF. Then we're going to go through the news topic of Iran and Israel tensions on the market space. Then we're going to go through the news topic of Ripple securing a DFSA license from the United Arab Emirates. Then we're going to discuss the topic of essentially Carry Capital launching their first ever HBAR trust for institutional investors. Then we're going to go through the news topic of Eurozone inflation rates dropping below 2%. Then we're going to go through the news topic of, on tonight's live show, regarding the United Kingdom launching a digital security sandbox to explore DLT applications. And then we're going to go through the news topic of Hashdex filing in their amendment for their S1 filings with the SEC, essentially, so we can find out what's going on, how much Hashdex owns in terms of Bitcoin ETFs, Ethereum ETFs, what's their other digital assets they have. Then we're going to go through the news topic of a green light to cryptocurrencies trading from a $7.1 trillion asset management firm. A $7.1 trillion asset management firm has just green light to cryptocurrency tradings. And when we get to that news, I'll tell you which firm it is. Then we're going to talk about Europe essentially gathers a global experts to draft the code and legislations and policies for AI. The EU is getting ready for AI technology, and they want to bring the legislations now. They're bringing experts from all around the world to discuss matters and see what policies work and what doesn't. So, before we go through any of that news, and the first news we're going to go through is regarding bank crises and liquidity issues, most likely regarding banks. Once again, welcome to CMF Live Show. If you're watching this for the first time ever, and if you're regular, let's go CMF. I just want to say thank you so much to everyone that's been retweeting this live show right at the beginning of the live show. And thank you so much to everyone that's been liking this live show on X and putting comments on the video. And for everyone on YouTube right now that's watching as well, thanks so much for liking the live show as well. So, first news, banks, liquidity issues. But before we go that, 1 second, let's just go through the comment section so it doesn't build up. We'll go through the comment section quick, and then we go straight into the news. Crypto markets is the most volatile markets. Anything happens geopolitically, it pretty much affects it. Yes, it does. Good evening, Miles and CMF. How are you? Caddy, I'm doing great. How you doing? How you been? The world sneezes and crypto catches a cold. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Orphan, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hello, Miles and CMF. Comatose, good to see you as well. How you doing? Scott, hello to my CMF family on YouTube. Good to see you as well. How you doing? If you do not mind, share the live. Let's go, Scott. What up, Miles? What up, CMF? Carrie, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? Now, first news. Banks. Banks are facing a liquidity risk right now as global growth slows and economic pressure is pretty much on the rise. Banks worldwide are facing an increased liquidity threats in 2024 due to a slower global revenue developments and increasing financial challenges. Raising geopolitical tensions and disruptions in supply chains are putting added pressure on the banking industry right now. In advanced societies, efforts to control inflation have seen some success, but not in total. Yet the general burgery scenario remains sluggish on the banking systems. Lenders are now preparing to adjust their strategies to maintain liquidity and manage these mounting risks that are happening. Strict capital requirements for US banks. To address these risk issues, large US banks have to comply with strict capital liquidity standards right now. According to the Federal Reserve, banks with more than $100 billion in assets must meet the Common Equity Tier 1 capital ratio. This sentiment includes essentially a 4.5% minimum, a stress capital buffer of at least 2.5%, and a surcharge for essentially a globally basis of important banks for at least 1%. Despite these measures, recent liquidity crises have exposed serious issues. In early 2023, for example, several large banks faced sudden liquidity pressures with unsustained depository withdrawals and funds fearing the banks could collapse. That is happening again in 2024. This crisis showed how gaps in risk management could harm banks and stability issues. As a result, banks are revisiting their approaches to manage their liquidities and their risk right now. Blockchain's role in the future of banking. Besides its essentially mitigation of risk, business operators are increasingly turning to blockchain ideas to improve their efficiencies. Banks right now are turning to blockchain to improve major issues on their efficiencies. Ripple, a digital currency, has grown in popularity for enabling fast and low-cost international transactions. Manual banking transmissions are often slow and expensive, but the tokens provide a faster and more affordable solution. This particular technology also promises to reshape the future of monetary influence. Commercial organizations continue to digitize their services. Blockchain will likely play a critical role in creating more secure and transparent financial systems. Many banks are already preparing for a future where digital assets like XRP, for example, can become a more widely used asset. So right now, banks are having major crisis issues, which perfect timing, to be fairly honest, because XRP case has just pretty much ended. I know a lot of people are waiting inside the crypto community or the Ripple XRP army. They're waiting for an appeal to happen. I've already said my piece, and basically, if an appeal does happen, it's going to reject it because they have zero grounds for the SEC to battle on. And in most cases, the SEC won't even appeal because it ended so bad the first time around. There's no point appealing. If you want to appeal, you got to have grounds. If they get rejected on those grounds, then that's pretty much it for the SEC. They're going to get embarrassed head to toe. They're already embarrassed as it is. Every time the SEC goes to Congress, it's never good news. Everybody in Congress is battering Gary Gensler every time he goes and does a speech. And if he loses and he appeals and he gets rejected, forget about Gary Gensler. His job title is gone. Now, moving on, I'm moving essentially off the banking crisis issues, which again is perfect timing. With the Ripple case coming to an end, banks are going through troubles. But what we're going to talk about now is Bitwise. Bitwise filing in an XRP ETF in Delaware. Now, everybody's seeing the tweets of everybody sending screenshots, Bitwise ETF, XRP, and so on. Brilliant news, to be fairly honest. But it's something we all expected coming. Also, if Bitwise has filed in for an XRP ETF, that means this case is done for. That means this case with Ripple versus SEC is finished. So there's no appeal coming if somebody like Bitwise is filing their XRP ETF. These are indications that there is no appeal. And even if there is an appeal, it's going to get rejected. But it's something that I also said is going to be in the works. Remember when I told everyone that corporations tend to listen to each other? If any corporation does any sort of certain movements inside the corporate sector, everybody else is looking at them in Wall Street. So when Grayscale essentially came out and said, we're doing an XRP trust line, that means there's an indication of what's next is XRP ETF from Grayscale. So it seems like Bitwise just went straight to, the last step and said, we'll just file in an essentially XRP ETF just to get it over with. It's something that we all saw coming. The moment Grayscale announced their essentially trust line for XRP, next step was XRP ETF from Grayscale. But it seems like Bitwise just said, if they're going to do it, we might as well do it now. So before we go through that news, let's consider the comment section first, and then we go through that news. Let's see where we were at. By the way, again, this is a live show, so if you do have any questions, put it down in the comment section. I'm answering everyone's questions one by one, giving short and sweet, simple answers to get through everyone. Hey, Miles, good to see you. Brooke, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hi, Miles. Peter, good to see you as well. How you doing? So BTC is not really a risk-off asset, but it looks a bit no. Hello, Miles and CMF. Lena, good to see you as well. How you doing? 6 days to go. Yep. Regarding Ripple versus SEC. What's up, Miles and CMF? Below, good to see you as well. How you doing? Big news, a lot of news tonight regarding geopolitical tensions as well. So we're going to go through that. But before we go through that, let's go through Bitwise. Bitwise filing their XRP ETF in Delaware. So wealth manager Bitwise has registered their Delaware trust for a fund that would track Ripple's native cryptocurrency, XRP. Bitwise, essentially a Bitcoin and Ethereum traded fund issuer, has filed for an XRP ETF in the state of Delaware as the firm looks to expand its crypto offerings. The next step for a potential Bitwise XRP trust would likely involve a registration application with the US and Securities and Exchange Commission. Considering previous crypto ETF bids, Bitwise may be heading towards a lengthy regulatory process involving a proposed rule change and engagement of the SEC staff for feedback. Essentially, a fellow crypto ETF issuer, Grayscale, also launched an XRP fund for accredited investors last month. This year, many have essentially debated how many more digital assets would assume the institutional ETF space and debuted essentially on Wall Street. The SEC's cryptocurrencies has generally been cited as stumbling blocks for those products, especially outside the Bitcoin and Ethereum space. But we all knew something else was going to come. It's not going to be just Bitcoin ETF, Ethereum ETF, and that's it. No, we all knew we were expecting an XRP ETF, and essentially XLM ETF, a Solana ETF, and so on. So, according to the SEC chairman, Gary Gensler, most cryptocurrencies are securities and issuers must register with the regulator. The SEC Enforcement Division has also sued several crypto businesses, including XRP's creator, Ripple, for allegedly breaking securities laws, which the SEC lost on, and therefore XRP is not a security. Ripple scored a partial victory against the SEC, but was ordered to pay $125 million, which is not a really big deal compared to the $2 billion fine the SEC was asking them. Now, the U.S. District Judge Elias Torres declared that over 1,200 institutional sales of Ripple's tokens violated federal securities laws at that moment in time. How this ruling might impact future ETFs based on Ripple's cryptocurrency remains to be seen. Ripple's CEO Brad previously did state that the more crypto ETFs were going to be happening inside the market space, and Brad did say this. So he did an interview essentially on TV, which was I think on CNBC, and he does multiple on Bloomberg, but he discussed the matter of essentially ETFs, and he was asked the question of, do you expect an XRP ETF to happen? And this was about 3 weeks ago, and Brad said, yes, I do expect. Essentially, he does see an XRP ETF happening somewhere down the line, which by the looks of it, it's not that far off. And Brad predicted that an XRP ETF in the coming months could be possible. The firm also has plans for stablecoins embarked, and which is Ripple's RLUSD, which is also coming out very, very soon this year, essentially. So, things are working out pretty well for Ripple. A lot of people might not see it that way. A lot of people tweet 24/7 daily, just, battering Ripple and XRP, saying the price never moves, the price never moves. And at that point, we get it. The price never moves, but it still has more institutional partners than any other cryptocurrency on this planet. It has more money transfer with the licensings than any other cryptocurrency on this planet. It has more, essentially, documentations to its title on the Bank of International Settlements than any centralized banks around the world. You can go to the Bank of England's website. The Bank of England's website, just like any other centralized bank around the world, has a search box. If you search the words XRP, a documentation will pop up. You can do that pretty much in every centralized bank's established essentially countries, 63 centralized banks under the Bank of International Settlements, and Ripple's documentations will come up where they've tested into their banking systems and so on. And also there's multiple PDF documentations, and Ripple does more speeches at the World Economic Forum than any other cryptocurrency. So Ripple's achieved a lot more compared to any other cryptocurrency project out there. Sure, the price hasn't moved, but it's achieved a lot more. So it just depends on how you look at it. Are you looking at a crypto asset in terms of the price hasn't went 10 pence up or 10 cents up? Are you looking at a crypto asset in the sense of it has money transfer licensings, it has contracts, it has everything it needs for it to be able to operate and function fully? So it all depends on how you look at it. And the easiest way to look at it also is 98% of centralized banks are in CBDCs. 98% of centralized banks are on CBDCs, and Ripple's the only one with active CBDC platform since day one. Now, out of 24,000 crypto projects, you don't need to be a genius to figure that one out. So what we're going to be talking about next, moving on essentially from Ripple's XRP ETF, which again is massive news regarding Bitwise for doing this, just taking a step further away from Grayscale's essentially XRP trust line. And by the way, Grayscale's XRP trust line for their XRP is eventually going to be turned into an XRP ETF. It's just what happens with Grayscale. Grayscale did a Bitcoin trust, and then they did a Bitcoin ETF. They did an Ethereum trust, and then they did an Ethereum essentially ETF. They did an XRP trust line, and now they're going to be doing somewhere down the line an XRP ETF. It's just how Grayscale does their movements. But now we're going to be talking about the geopolitical tensions inside the crypto space right now. As of now, Iran and Israel are essentially going at it, because Iran started this time again. A lot of people might not see it that way. A lot of people might say Israel started. A lot of people might say Iran started it. But here's the thing. It's impacting the market space. And there's a lot of other things behind, obviously, Iran's scenario as well. But by the way, if anyone watching this, for the first time ever, thinks that maybe I'm not qualified to talk about Iran and Israel, I'm Persian myself. I'm Iranian myself. And here's one thing, very simple, you should know. It's the Iranian government that hates Israel. The people of Iran, no matter what anybody will tell you on X, a lot of people on X will tell you, Iran is completely against Israel, which is incorrect. The people of Iran, the majority people of Iran, are actually with Israel. Every time Israel takes out, somebody that's, in charge of Iran, or somebody that Iran is funding, and Israel takes them out, there are people celebrating in Iran, which is something that doesn't get shown on X quite a lot. So this is what there's always two sides to every story, and one side never gets told. And this is the side that never gets told from Iran's scenario, which is every time, the Iranian people are actually happy because they're seeing Israel coming in essentially and taking this horrible regime inside of Iran away, this Iranian government, they're taking it away. And everybody in Iran, the people of Iran, they're happy. Because the side of Iran nobody gets to see is the Iranian government abusing their own people. That's the one side you'll never see on X. Because everybody on X talks about the Iranian government like there are some saviors coming in to save the day. They're not saviors. If you knew the other side of the Iranian government, then you wouldn't be calling them saviors. Now, I'm not here to judge on Israel's side because I'm not Israeli. But I can judge the Iranian side because I am Iranian. And I know things that I'm not able to say on live ever because I'll get flagged. But I'll never say some of these things. But you've never seen the other side of the Iranian government, and you never will. Only if you live in Iran, you will. But the Iranian government is horrendous, and they need to be removed. Now, why I've brought this up, and why is this relatable to the market space or the crypto space? Okay. So I have to just give you a little quick step-by-step of what's going to be happening in the following months, because war impacts the crypto market, war impacts the stock market, war impacts every market in general. So here's a little quick step-by-step. Very small, quick step-by-step. So the Iranian government has, a long time ago, Iran had a king. His son is alive. He's the crown prince of Iran. The crown prince of Iran lives in America. He recently, with his wife, visited Israel. The crown prince of Iran visited Israel about a few months back, where over there in Israel, they made plans to restart Iran and get rid of the regime. How do I know this? Well, because after the crown prince of Iran came back from Israel and went back to the United States where he lives, he was then invited to essentially an Israel event alongside Donald Trump, and many Israeli government members were there as well, and the crown prince of Iran was also there. And the crown prince of Iran was invited to go on stage, but before he went on stage, when they announced him coming on stage at the Israeli event in the United States, they didn't say he's the crown prince of Iran. They said, why are we calling you the crown prince? You are Reza Shah Pahlavi II. So they stopped calling him the crown prince, and instead they called him by his father's name, which is his name as well, and they called him the second. So they're naming him the king of Iran, the second. But he's the crown prince. But according to Israel now, he's the second king of Iran. So they invited on stage. He does a big speech of what he wants to achieve in Iran and how he would control things in Iran and how he should be taken over and so on and so on. And then that goes, essentially, that happened 9 days ago. That happened 9 days ago. Yesterday, the Prime Minister of Israel, essentially came out and did a video on YouTube. It's on YouTube, by the way. Anybody can go and watch these videos. The things I'm talking about is all on YouTube. Yesterday, the Prime Minister of Israel came out and did a speech. And he said, because he's with the king of Iran, he's with the Shah of Iran as well. So he made a speech and he said that Iran needs to have a restart. The Iranian people are actually with the Israeli people. The Iranian people don't want the government. The Iranian people want to change. The Iranian people want this government to go. And we are going to help the Iranian people have a restart. And by that, he means he wants to put the king of Iran, the second king of Iran now, not the crown prince anymore, the second king of Iran, in position of power in Iran. So how does this all relate? Well, the moment essentially Israel entered into Lebanon, it put pressure on Iran to get involved. And they want Iran to get involved. They want Iran to get involved because if Iran gets involved, then they can retaliate and remove them. But they don't want to just enter into Iran. They want some sort of a cause for them to enter Iran. So they enter into Lebanon, they put pressure on Iran because now it's embarrassing. Iran said, we're going to do this and that, and now they're not doing anything. And we're entering into Lebanon, and you're still not doing anything. So Iran gets pressured, and today Iran reacts. This all happened back to back in a space of 1 month. So now that Iran's retaliated, this is the second time, Israel has to essentially move forward with their plan. Which, look, I'll be honest, the government of Iran needs to go. Okay, now this could be the big distraction, the next big war. As long the way it's moving, it's going to be a slow escalation. I don't believe it's going to be a drastic escalation. I think it's going to be a slow escalation. But the longer this war carries on, the more it will affect. This is when it comes back to the crypto markets. The longer this war essentially carries on and keeps on going back and forward, the longer this is going to have a major effect on the crypto markets and the stock markets. Because it's just going to go back and forward. Another missile strike, market comes back down. Another missile strike, market comes back down. Market goes slightly up. Another missile strike, market comes back down. So this is going to be a slow, essentially, escalation of a war. But once it gets escalated, it's going to get escalated. And this is going to be the biggest one. So this is going to be bigger than Ukraine versus Russia, bigger than essentially, Israel and Palestine. It's going to be the biggest one. Because this is going to be the one that removes an entire government from Iran. So that's a big war, which I'm all for it. The Iranian government are horrible people, and they need to be removed. And as I said before, I'm very qualified to speak on this matter because me, myself, I'm Persian, I'm Iranian. So nobody can say, oh, well, you don't know the history of Iran or you don't know how things work in Iran. Yes, I do. I'm Iranian. And again, nobody sees the other side of the Iranian government. They're horrendous people. Absolutely horrendous people. They abuse their own people. So the Iranian government does need to be removed. So it's 2 birds, 1 stone. So as long the more this escalates, the more the markets will get affected. So this will give you some sort of look. If you're into futures trading, not financial advice in any sort of a way, but if you're into futures trading, well, you know what to do now. The moment tensions get high, you put a short. The moment things settle down, you put a long. The moment tensions get high, you put a short. The moment things settle down, you put a long. Could it be more simple? So that's how you can play it in the market space. But then it's 2 birds, 1 stone. You can make money on the market space while this is going on. And then the other, so 1 bird is getting knocked out by the same stone, is you can make money on the market space. The second bird that's getting knocked out by the same stone, 2 birds, 1 stone, is one entire government is about to be removed. Also, this is a huge distraction as well for something major to even happen inside the financial space. This is something massive that could also impact the financial space as well, where major things can happen inside the banking space as well. A lot of things can happen. This is going to be the biggest one. This is bigger than Ukraine versus Russia, bigger than essentially the other one, bigger than Taiwan versus China that's been going on for years and nothing's happened. But this one, it's a slow escalation. As I said, it's not going to be an instant war. It's going to be a slow escalation. It's going to be a lot of back and forward before something actually happens. But this back and forward is going to have drastic impacts on the market space. But yeah, this is basically two birds, one stone. Iran essentially has their king back. The king of Iran will be back, the Shah of Iran. The second, Reza Pahlavi is the second, and Shah means king. In other words, every time I say Shah, means king. So Reza Pahlavi the second will be the ruler of Iran, and the Iranian government will be removed. Thank God for that. I've been waiting for the day for a restart to be happening in Iran, that the government completely goes away and Reza Pahlavi comes back. The Shah of Iran, the king of Iran, comes back finally. After 45 years, the Iranian people can be freed from this tremendous, essentially horrendous government. I was about to say treacherous government, but yeah. So this is how the escalation happened, with him going to Israel, coming back, doing a speech in America, and then they introduce him as not the crown prince, but the second king of Iran. They bring him on stage, they do a big speech. And then the prime minister of Israel yesterday does a speech and says, I know the Iranian people are with me. I know the Iranian people want freedom. I know the Iranian people want this and that, which is all true. The Iranian people do want freedom. So this is why all this is happening. This was just coordinated, step-by-step coordination to remove this government, to remove the Iranian government. Good. Honestly, you want peace in the Middle East, get rid of the Iranian government, and peace will be restored. And by the way, again, I'm Iranian, so if anybody says, oh, you don't know what you're talking about and so on, you don't understand the Iranian people, I'm Iranian. Let's not go there. Miles on the market is going to go up from here is as an escalation. These elections are just around the corner. The elections are right around the corner as well. Very, very true. That's going to be having an impact on the crypto markets as well. Or will the markets crash if the war kicks off? The markets will crash if the war kicks off. Definitely the markets will crash if the war kicks off. They need an excuse for a major switch to CBDCs. They do. And this will be the biggest distraction ever. Removing an entire government is a huge distraction. It's a positive distraction, to be fairly honest as well. They're removing an entire Iranian government. Israel is trying hard to bring US into this conflict. Biden administration cannot afford this war right now. Well, interesting enough, do you know what Iran said? Iran actually made some comments towards the US tonight as well. The Iranian government on Iranian news, which a lot of people don't get to see. People, in the West get to see CNBC or Fox News or BBC News or Voice of America News. In the Iranian news, the Iranian government actually said, if the United States gets involved, then we are going to be taking out all their military spots, is what the Iranian government said. So the Iranian government is now, throwing some comments at the American, essentially, government as well. This is pretty much the end of the Iranian government. Once you make those types of comments towards the American military as well, you better kiss your life goodbye. Because the American military does not mess about. And the Iranian government knows that this is their final days. Believe me, the Iranian government knows that this is essentially their final days. And they need an excuse to switch to CBDCs. You can't get a bigger excuse than this, removing an entire government. People don't remember the Iranian Islamic Revolution. It was the worst idea of the Islamic Revolution for Iran. Good evening, Miles of CMF. Mike, good to see you. How you doing? The sooner the better, Miles, that he becomes king. Facts. Ian, let's go. I don't think the US will allow them to go forward. The issue is the US is now, Iran's made comments towards the US as well now. I can't seem to be able to comment on X. I can't seem to make comments from X either. I'm wondering if there's a problem. I can see a comment now. Hi, Miles of CMF. Good to see you guys. It's time to throw my CMF TV. Let's go. Let's go, Cole. Why, Miles, has this particular war taken so long, years to be coordinated? Because it needed to happen at the perfect time. I'm happy for your extended family, Miles. This is such a positive news. Let's go, Shelley. Hey, Miles, how are you doing? Do you think the Supreme Leader will let it happen? He's already let it happen by doing the second strike. Will there be a new war by the looks of it? So Israel is a peacemaker and Iran is a bad person here? Yes, unfortunately, sorry to tell you the truth. Sorry to tell you the truth, but yes. For the prince to become king, pretty much. What do you think happened to the price prediction in 2024? Your opinion? Okay, regarding the Israel-Iran situation, yes. Trust me, the Iranian government make Israel look like angels. Nobody that's not an Iranian. If you're not an Iranian, then you haven't seen the other side of the Iranian government. Honestly, hell is too comfortable for the Iranian government. The things that the Iranian government has done to the people of Iran, hell is too comfortable for these people. Honestly. What do you think happened to the price prediction end of 2024? Your opinion? Price prediction in 2024 for which assets? A lot of assets, I'm guessing. Consider variable change. Miles, what's good about Swiss Talk? Swiss Talk, in terms of their partners and the money they've raised. Now, if you raise money, if you raise venture capital money, then that means there's some sort of interest towards your project that you could be able to achieve something. Venture capitalists don't essentially fund, useless projects. If they fund a particular project and a particular project is able to raise seed money, then that means there's some sort of interest in what you're trying to achieve. You've shown some sort of impact or so on. So that is yes. Seriously, Israel peacemaker? Israel have been killing innocent. Yeah, no, look. This is why I said Iran versus Israel. The other war, I'm not getting involved in that matter. The Israel versus Iran scenario. No other war. No other war. Just Israel versus Iran war is the one I'm only commenting on. The other ones, just Israel versus Iran is what I'm commenting on that matter. Who's the, essentially, trust me. Because there's things that I can't tell you. Chozone, there's a lot of things that I can't tell you of what the Iranian government has done to their own people and what they're still doing that I can't tell you. Things that you'll never see on X. I can actually go into detail of how they do it to people, but I'm not going to be doing that right now. Trust me, the Iranian government, hell is too comfortable for them. They need a worse place. Purgatory, maybe, for the Iranian government. Now, okay, got it. Miles, will you guide us when to sell XRP and pump? In a Telegram group, I'll tell you step by step on the matters of what I'm doing in the market space. So if you want to follow my footsteps, no financial advice in any sort of a way, but I'll be telling inside a Telegram group, for example, I'm selling this asset, I'm selling that asset, I'm selling by this much and so on, or this price. By the way, Telegram group is completely free for anybody to join if you want to join the CMF. But regarding this whole tension situation, so going back to the market space, so Iran versus Israel tensions. Will Bitcoin survive against gold? Impossible for Bitcoin to remain stable during these troubled times. As the Middle East prepares for a potential conflict between Israel and Iran, investors are massively turning to gold. A lot of investors are taking their money out of Bitcoin, but the majority of investors that were never in Bitcoin in the first place are running towards gold instead of Bitcoin. So once again, gold is seen as the hedge against geopolitical tensions rather than Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin was designed to be a hedge against scenarios like this. So immediate consequences: BTC drops by 2%, reaching $62,500, while gold climbs to $2,662 per ounce. Bitcoin's volatility in the face of geopolitical tensions shows that gold remains the favorite safe haven for investors, even during these times. Iran versus Israel's Bitcoin in turmoil. After a historic September for Bitcoin, another episode is unfolding. It concerns the growing tensions between Israel and Iran, which have a direct impact on the crypto market space. The announcement of an imminent, essentially, missile from Iran against Israel caused a collapse in the price of BTC, falling below $62,500 mark. Meanwhile, gold shines again and again, gaining 1% in value so far. This situation reinforces the idea that Bitcoin has not yet acquired its status as a safe haven in times of crisis. As Jerome Blockroad essentially points out in his tweet, investors are literally selling Bitcoin to buy gold. They're not literally selling Bitcoin to buy gold. Anybody's tweeting out investors are literally selling Bitcoin to buy gold, it's an absolute load of BS. Some small portion of investors might be selling off their Bitcoins to buy gold, but the rest of the money that's coming into gold is just new investments. Investors chose caution, preferring a tangible asset like gold in these moments of instability. I admit to that, yes. While missiles are preparing to raid down, gold prices are rising and BTC is free falling. Bitcoin drops by 2%, gold increases by 1%. The announcement of the Iranian missiles against Israel has triggered this market movement. Besides, the Israel and Iran's conflict, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency market in general are subject to other pressures as well. Ethereum, the second major player in the sector, saw its value drop below $2,600, down 2%. Binance Coin, BNB, on the other hand, plunged to around $550. This drop in Bitcoin and its crypto companies essentially might just be a short-term retracement, which it is, until the next essentially geopolitical tension, as the market recently accumulated gains. However, the current volatility of BTC Bitcoin demonstrates how much geopolitical events influence its price. In reality, it shouldn't. Geopolitical tensions like this should never, essentially have an impact, a negative impact on Bitcoin. Instead, geopolitical tensions like this should have a positive impact on Bitcoin, because it's supposed to hedge against inflation. It's supposed to hedge against geopolitical tensions. It's supposed to be the number one asset in any sort of scenarios like this. Instead, it does the opposite. Other recent conflicts, such as the one between Russia and Ukraine, had also triggered significant fluctuations in Bitcoin. The idea of a digital gold seems far away for now, especially when physical gold continues to rise. And that's not all. In addition to the crisis in the Middle East, Bitcoin has to face the risk of an AI bubble and an economic recession, which is true as well. An economic essential recession is a bit of an issue as well. It's something that could be happening next year regarding economic recession. Now, a recession isn't going to be happening during these times because it makes no sense, because we're going into voting and we can't go into voting inside the United States while going through an economic recession. It makes zero sense, because it makes one political campaign look bad. Even though the United States market space is horrendous, pretty much, just like anywhere else. Every market space around the world is going through their own troubles right now. And they're all pretending everything's sweet and there's no issues whatsoever. The EU is pretending the EU market space is strong and resilient. The UK market space is strong and resilient. The Canadian market space, strong, resilient. China's market space, strong, resilient. US, strong, resilient. And they're all lying to you. One by one, every single one is. France's market space is tumbling downwards. France's market space, especially their real estate market space, is horrible. China's real estate market space, once again, is in troubles. The United States, well, they have their own issues going on with a massive debt crisis. But they're all lying to you. They're all saying to you, oh, the banks are doing brilliant. The 2% target is not that far off. And we're doing our daily, essentially, looking into the documentations, doing our rate cuts, getting closer to that 2% target. And they're all lying to you. And if you think, they can't lie about the numbers, numbers don't lie. Some people say numbers don't lie. Hate to break it to those people, but numbers do lie. And how you can essentially assess that is a long time ago, 2008, for example, there was an agency by the name of Moody's who displays essentially the data for Wall Street. Moody's does the data for Wall Street. 2008, when everybody's expecting, a group of people were expecting the markets to crash, and suddenly the markets didn't crash in 2008, Moody's came out and said, well, the markets are doing brilliant. Who said we're going through troubles inside the United States? We don't have real estate issues inside the United States, is what Moody's said. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, about a week later, the US had a massive collapse. And when Moody's was, asked the question of why did you lie on the numbers, Moody's said, well, if we didn't give the numbers the banks wanted, then the bankers would just go across the street to somebody else and they'll give the numbers that they wanted. So regarding numbers, they lie. Because some people think numbers don't lie, but numbers do lie. Especially when you stretch the numbers. If you stretch the numbers too far, the collapse will be even bigger. But they're not going to be doing essentially regarding collapse or economic collapse now, no chance, because we're going to voting. If we have an economic collapse, it makes Sleepy Joe and Kamala Harris look bad, and they already look bad as it is, to be fairly honest. But it makes them look worse. And those people that are voting for Kamala Harris and essentially Sleepy Joe, the ones that are about to be voting for Sleepy Joe, maybe they could wake up and vote for Donald Trump if we go for an economic crisis. But we're not going to be going for an economic crisis because it makes Sleepy Joe and Kamala Harris look bad, because it makes them look like they couldn't handle the economy. And before we even get to voting, it's collapsed. So what happens instead? The next president is chosen, a little bit of time passes, and the collapse happens. But the next president could, prevent the collapse happening if he takes certain actions. For example, fixing that massive debt hole. Now, Miles, what Israel has done to Palestinians and Lebanese, they will go. Can you share the information in the CMF lounge? Yes, I can, Kerry. I am from Iraq. I am from Iraq. I know exactly what you're talking about, because the Iraqi government is basically Iranian, both doing horrible things to its people. Facts. Let's go count. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's always a modern day Antichrist. It used to, though, it didn't. It is this since the ETFs. Yeah. Is always good, guys. Grand Rising CMF. Let's go. Ray, how you doing? How you been? So, moving off, the topic regarding Bitcoin is supposed to be a hedge against inflation scenarios like this. And, the interesting, actually, one funny part about this matter is we were talking about this. We were discussing this on this live show regarding Bitcoin. And I said it's always reacted bad in scenarios like this. Bitcoin has always reacted bad. And what do you know? A war breaks up between Israel and Iran, and Bitcoin once again hides away instead of shining as it should do, because it's titled digital gold. The funny part is the physical gold is actually shining as a safe haven. So the digital gold is swinging downwards, but it won't go too far down, just to be fairly honest as well. Bitcoin's not going to go too far down in any sort of a way. There are too many institutions still buying at ridiculous prices. I think the ports are closing will speed up a recession. Yeah, that definitely will. There are three big liars: the media, the politicians, and the statistics. I agree. Facts. Now, some other good news came out today as well regarding Ripple. So moving off Bitcoin and ETF news and political tensions and geopolitical graphic scenarios to Ripple. Ripple has just secured a DFSA approval to expand their services in Dubai. Ripple has received an in-principle clearance from the Dubai Financial Services Authority to expand its services from Dubai's International Financial Center, DIFC, marking an important milestone in its worldwide essentially expansion plan. The announcement stated that this authorization allows Ripple to introduce enhanced cross-border payment services, including Ripple Payments Direct, RPD, in the United Arab Emirates. The DFSA's approval allows Ripple to expand its essentially enterprise-grade digital asset infrastructure to a larger client base in the UAE right now, in line with its aim to provide a quicker and more effective, cost-effective cross-border payment solution. Ripple highlights the significance of regulatory compliance and investments in crucial infrastructure, including liquidity and custody solutions, to support efficient fiat digital asset transactions. Ripple CEO Brad essentially he mentioned some things regarding the UAE. So the UAE's regulatory framework saying blockchain and cryptocurrency technologies are here to stay, which is facts. He emphasized that the UAE's innovative regulatory stance places it at the forefront of financial technology and innovation, which is also facts. But for anybody that doesn't know this, Singapore is ranking #1. According to Chain Analysis report, Singapore is ranking #1 in terms of digital assets. Dubai or the United Arab Emirates and Hong Kong are ranking second alongside each other, but still massive. And Ripple's got a big play in Singapore as well. It's where they have the real majority of their stocks. So Ripple, the first blockchain payment service provider approved by the DFSA, which is the biggest announcement. Ripple is the first blockchain payment service provider approved by the DFSA in the United Arab Emirates. It is set to reshape the United Arab Emirates financial landscape, which is a huge announcement. The DFSA's in-principle license clearance reinforces Ripple's aim to expand its footprint in the Middle East, which follows the construction of its regional headquarters in Dubai in 2020. The UAE's key role as a financial hub influenced by Ripple's decision to expand into the region, offering access to a rapidly growing market in the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. Solomon Jeffrey, the Chief Business Development Officer of the DIFC Authority, highlighted Dubai's commitment to fostering a future focused on terms of financial ecosystems, expressing pride in Ripple's expansion with the DIFC in the United Arab Emirates, and its role in advancing blockchain technology in the region. Dubai's Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority also set the stricter rules for companies promoting crypto investments in the United Arab Emirates as well. Now, all marketing materials must be included in disclaimers to ensure transparency and protect investors. This step is a part of the VARA's efforts to improve regulation in terms of digital asset space. Because a few weeks ago back, we also got the announcement for Ripple getting essentially another license from the United Arab Emirates in Dubai. And then now today, we have an announcement that Ripple is pretty much the first payment provider to get authorized by the DIFC in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai, which is amazing news. The first payment provider. And the DIFC, the Department of the United Arab Emirates, DFIC, came out, made a big speech and said they are, pride with joy that Ripple is their chosen one, and Ripple is doing all these, helping them to advance essentially the United Arab Emirates and Dubai in payments and so on. They're ecstatic that Ripple is their partner. Amazing news, absolute big milestone. Now, moving off Ripple and the United Arab Emirates, which was amazing news, to HBAR news. Canary Capital launches their first ever US HBAR trust for institutional investors. A HBAR trust has just pretty much happened. And if you have a HBAR trust, what comes next is a HBAR ETF. Canary Capital has introduced the United States' first HBAR trust, expanding crypto options for institutional investors. This move offers institutional investors access to Hedera's, the native crypto token of Hedera Network, essentially HBAR. The trust caters to accredited investors seeking exposure to advanced crypto investment strategies. According to the company's announcement, this is the first dedicated HBAR trust in the United States, which is also amazing announcement. The Hedera Network is a distributed ledger technology used by enterprises for various applications, such as tokenizing assets, issuing NFTs, and developing Web3 applications. This trust gives the United States investors a structured way to invest into HBAR. Stephen, the former co-founder of Valkyrie and founder of Canary Capital, emphasized the growing demand for crypto investment options beyond popular assets like Bitcoin. He noted that despite the interest, many institutional investors lack reliable options to invest in more innovative crypto projects. The accelerating demand for crypto offerings seems to be exceptional since this year's launch. A gap regarding firms with institutional experience, two are willing to continue to innovate and deliver solutions beyond retail products. Stephen, the Canary, basically mentioned some other things. The Canary HBAR Trust addresses this gap, potentially paving the way for the future of crypto-focused investments. Funds such as ETFs. The trust is available for accredited individuals and institutional investors, representing an opportunity for those looking to diversify their crypto portfolios. Additionally, Canary Capital offers other crypto hedge funds solutions as well, targeting sophisticated and institutional investors seeking a blend of crypto and fixed income strategies. Hedera helped also launch the MICA Crypto Alliance with the help of Ripple and APTOS in the European market space as well recently, which I already shared that news, which was about a few days ago, regarding Hedera, Ripple, and APTOS, the crypto project, Atopos, also come together in the EU to launch the MICA Alliance, which was also a major announcement as well a few days ago. But yeah, HBAR has just pretty much got its first ever United States trust. HBAR has the first ever United States trust for institutions. Massive. Because that HBAR, essentially trust, is sooner or later going to be turning into a HBAR ETF. It's just what happens. It's either it goes straight to an ETF or it starts from a trust and then turns into an ETF, which is quite an expensive process, but it does happen sometimes like that. Now, before we talk about the next part of this live show, which is regarding the Eurozone inflation and how much of an impact that's going to be having on the market space as well. The EU is a big market space. If they start sliding sideways, then the market's going to slide sideways with them. So we're going to talk about that next. But before we go through that, let's go to the comment section first. If you have any questions, go for it. This is a live show, which means, you know, if you have any questions, even if you are new inside the crypto space, do not be shy. Go for it inside the comment section, whatever questions you may have. Miles, what did you say about the prediction of XRP this year? I said, consider variable changes, what I said. What I've always said. But look, no, regarding XRP, it needs the green lights. It gets its regulation green light or its adoption green light, or it gets an XRP ETF, then the two green lights wouldn't matter as much. Obviously, they still matter, but it'll get a kickstart on the price. Miles, I created a poll for you as well. Shelly, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the poll. Yeah, Shelly created a poll in the CMF Telegram group for everyone to go and vote on, which is, should we start the live show at 11 UK time PM, or should we start the live show at around what we normally start at around, which is 11:25 PM every day? Because for a very long time, well, I mean, we're 170 episodes in right now, 170 episodes in right now, and we've been doing 11:25 PM. So Shelly thought maybe we should do 11 PM instead, but everybody go and vote on what you think. You should do 11:25 or should we do 11? Stormy, good to see you as well. How you doing? But Shelly, thank you so much for that as well. And Stormy, good to see you as well. How you doing? Just want to mention that if anybody doesn't know what that poll is inside the Telegram group. Miles, do you think, as me, those wars between Israel and Iran is coordinated in another way? The way as to impose new financial systems behind the scenes? Your point of view about the Iranian government is impressive. Thank you, Kylie, for that. Yes, I do. It's two birds, one stone. It's a big distraction for a new financial system. Very, very big distraction. But the thing is, not the issue. The positive note is one entire government is about to be removed. That I'm very happy on. When Link ETF? When is Chainlink going to be having an ETF? Well, nobody's announced it yet, to be fairly honest. But it's on the scenes. Why did this drop happen? The drop happened due to geopolitical tensions. Whenever a war happens, the market is easily impacted. You know, if a massive real estate company, you know, goes bankrupt, then it will have an impact on the market space. If the automotive industry has one ginormous company going sideways, then it's going to impact essentially the market space. If war breaks out, it's going to impact the market space. A lot of things are easily impact the market space, very easily. So this time around, especially today, was the Iran and Israel, which impacted the market space. So that's why the market slightly dropped, not majorly dropped, but slightly dropped. But if this war escalates, then the market will drop further. Which means, you know, if you do futures trading, that means short. Obviously not financial advice in any sort of a way, but it means short. If you hear on the news high tensions on either side, you know, short. If you hear on the news high tensions on either party, short. Not financial advice at all, any sort of way. It's just personal preference. War will always have a negative impact on the market space, but what you can also do is long on gold. Gold will go shooting up because it's a safe haven. Bitcoin should be shooting up because it's a safe haven, but unfortunately, Bitcoin goes sliding downwards. But here's the thing. It will do a DSU. Some people might be confused and going, what the hell is DSU? DSU means it will do, the market will do, when the war breaks out, an actual war breaks out, the market will do a down sideways, and then up. DSU. In the most simplest way to put it. Now, Eurozone inflation is what we're going to talk about next. Eurozone inflation rates dropped below 2% for the first time since 2021. Bets on ECB, the European Central Bank, rate cuts. Data from the European statistics firm Eurostat indicate that the Eurozone inflation rates have dropped to 1.8% in September from 2.2% in August. The rates are also down from the 4.3% recorded in September 2023. The current rates are below the European Central Bank ECB's expectations of 2%. The EU is going to have a very ginormous impact on the crypto space as well if it starts sliding downwards. Now, the EU is up to a certain extent. The European Central Bank, president essentially keeps on coming out and making some bold speeches and saying the European Central Bank, everything is moving smoothly. There's no issues. There's a lot of issues under that. The inflation rate has hit an all-time low, apparently, since mid-2021, after hitting a 3-year low in August. Afterwards, retainers held a poll in which most economists believed that September's inflation rate would hit 1.9%. The September rates came after multiple countries using the euro had their inflation rates lower, including France and Germany. Germany's statistics office, essentially DATIS, noted that the easings in the harmonized German consumer price index 1.8 in September. Core inflation, which is underlying price levels in the Eurozone, has hit 2.7%, 0.1% lower than the economists expected. Core inflation eliminates the more volatile food, alcohol, tobacco, and energy components. The drop has increased speculations of another rate cut by the European Central Bank in the coming meeting on October 17th. So put October 17th in your calendars, because that's a very important date. That's when the EU comes out and goes, rate cuts, yes or no. If the EU comes out and goes, rate cuts are happening, then the crypto market is going to react positively. If the EU comes out and essentially says rate cuts are not going to be happening, we're just going to be essentially extending it, the crypto market is going to react positively. But it will react more positively if there is rate cuts. Investors become a lot more riskier with their assets when rate cuts happen. A previous rate cut should be your indication. The previous rate cut the United States just did with their 50 basis points, what happened inside the crypto market space? Did it react negatively? No, it reacted positively. Because when rate cuts happen, investors become a lot more riskier with their assets, which means they go towards more risky assets when rate cuts happen. To either hedge against that scenario, they go towards gold or they'll go towards crypto assets, which most likely they went towards crypto assets because we had a positive round. So rate cuts happen, crypto goes up. The central bank cuts its interest rates. That's what I said previously. And when the rate cuts in the United States happened, the market went up. The central bank cut its interest rates from 4% to 3.75% in June. Afterwards, the ECB, the European Central Bank, further cut their interest rates to 3.50%. The economists are banking on another rate cut in October to 3.25%. The ECB president expects Eurozone economy to grow by 1.5% in 2026. So the EU is expecting their economy to be fixed pretty much starting this year into 2025 and 2026. The EU has no more issues whatsoever at all. Interestingly, the EU comes out with a CBDC in 2025, and by 2026 they have no more economic issues. The European Central Bank President Christian Lagarde projected in the September 30th Committee on Economic and Monetary Affairs of the European Parliament hearing at the euro economy would grow by 1.5% in 2026. Lagarde also highlighted the projections for the economy growing by 0.8% in 2024 and 1.3% in 2025. Lagarde also explained the economic situation in the euro area since the pandemic. The European Central Bank president highlighted that the region's economic growth kicked off during the first 9 months of 2022 before essentially staggering. Christian Lagarde also mentioned that the growth resumed in 2024. with the first quarter seeing 0.3% growth and the second quarter having a 0.2% growth. The projections for the coming years are a part of Lagarde's beliefs that the economy's recovery will continue to strengthen. Lagarde insisted that the labor and essentially employment markets will continue to be resilient, with unemployment at 6.4% and meant to depreciate further. Look, we're going to read on because there's a lot of data to carry. There's a lot of data to go through still, but Christine Lagarde is one person that's completely full of lies. The president of the European Central Bank has been lying through her teeth since the beginning she reached that seat as the president essentially of the European Central Bank. There's many lies. One lie was that her son lost money on crypto assets and therefore crypto assets are bad assets. But now they have the MiCA regulations and stablecoins inside the EU and cryptocurrencies. Another lie was essentially the European economy is doing well, when in reality it wasn't, and Russia's economy was actually doing better even during sanctions. There's a lot of lies she said. And she still lied by saying the EU's economy is doing great. Apparently the EU economy is having growth. If the EU economy is having growth, why is Germany struggling in the automotive space? Why is France struggling? By the way, Germany is one of the biggest market spaces inside the EU continent, essentially, or the EU, essentially in this case. Germany is one of the biggest market spaces. Why are they struggling with their automotive space? Why is France's real estate market space having troubles? Why is 1,260 real estate agents closed down in France if it's booming? She's lying through her teeth once again, as always. So the projections for the coming years are a part of Lagarde's beliefs that the economy's recovery will continue to strengthen. Christine Lagarde insisted that the labor and employment markets will continue to be resilient, with unemployment is going down, jobs are going up. The European Central Bank president also looked into the current inflation rates, mentioning that there could be a possible increase in the quarter four. One truth, she said. Christine Lagarde still expressed that she expects the rates to go back to the target as per the ECB's calendar. She also shared projections for 2024, 2025, and 2026 at an average of 2.5% and 2.2% and 1.9%. The European Central Bank to keep policy rates restrictive as a part of the central bank's plans to keep the policy rates sufficiently restrictive. Christine Lagarde mentioned that the changes in implementing the bank's monetary policies took effect September 18th. The European Central Bank changed the spread between the deposits and facility rates and the main refinancing options interest rates to 15 basis points. These are all the data points that discussed. The European Central Bank is also launching a monetary policy strategy assessment, which will have less scope than the last one, which was conducted in July 2021, the last one. In parallel to our policies, we have also launched an assessment of our monetary policy strategy, she announced in a big speech. The assessment will look into any implications of the changing monetary policy strategy. The exercise, which will have two working streams, will also explore the changing inflation environment. The assessment is expected to end in 2025. So, Christine Lagarde comes out and does massive speech. About 90% of her speech was just complete spewing lies. 10% of her speech was truth. The 10% that was truth, she said that we're going to be experiencing more inflation going to quarter four. That's true. The 90% that was a complete lie is you stating that, there's so many jobs out there and the economy is doing better in terms of growth, but we still have some inflation issues going on. But no, the economy is not doing better. So Germany is one of your biggest, essentially, wallets. And Germany's economy is, in terms of the automotive space, not doing great. France, in terms of the real estate market space, not doing great. The rest of the countries are actually, into debt. So what part of the EU she was exactly talking about when she said the EU's economy is actually doing better than usual, I'm not really sure what part of the EU she was talking about. Because if you look at the data that they provided, not at that meeting, but the data that they have provided, it doesn't seem that way. But the part that was true, yes, inflation is going higher. She wasn't lying about that one. Now, next news. moving off the EU. And by the way, 17th of October, big day. If the EU comes out and goes, our economy is, doing bad, and the market's going to react in a positive way, they come out with rate cuts, positive way as well. But 17th of October is when the EU's new report comes out on rate cuts from the European Central Bank. What we're going to talk about next is the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom is launching a digital securities sandbox to explore DLT applications. Now, the UK has already launched a digital sandbox once, where they tested out blockchains in terms of blockchains that wanted to be involved on a larger scale inside the United Kingdom will first have to be tested out in a digital sandbox. Every country pretty much has their own digital sandbox. And a digital sandbox is, for example, Chainlink, for example, will come along and say, they want to bring this type of system inside the United Kingdom. And then they'll say, okay, Chainlink, test it out in digital sandbox, where companies will come alongside Chainlink, for example, or Ripple, for example. They will come alongside Ripple and they go, let's do it inside digital sandbox and have some tests going on. Let's see how it works. Tests are successful, then it gets rolled out throughout the whole country. If tests are very unsuccessful, then they scrap that and they bring more projects into the digital sandbox to test them out before they launch them on a large scale. So that's basically a very basic version of explaining what a digital sandbox is. A much more deep, essential description, you can find it online. I'm not going to be doing a deep description because it'll be a very long live show, but that's a more basic, essentially simple terms, in other words. So the UK is about to be launching a different type of essentially sandbox, and pretty much this one. In order to investigate the potential applications of digital ledger technology, DLT, the notary maintenance and settlement processes of financial securities, the United Kingdom's financial regulator and the Bank of England has established a sandbox. The Digital Securities Sandbox, DDS, essentially DSS, was launched back in September 30th by the Bank of England and the Financial Conduct Authority, FCA in other words. This permits enterprises to investigate the potential advantages of distributed ledger technology, DLT, for financial securities. Banking on DLT. Moreover, emerging essentially technology has the ability to make markets more efficient, transparent, and resilient, something the Financial Conduct Authority has acknowledged. According to the regulator, these technologies have the potential to make procedures cheaper and quicker, which might result in savings across markets and their users if they are properly deployed. The DSS, the digital sandbox that the UK already has with the Bank of England and the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, will make it easier for the UK authorities to oversee the trading, settlement, and issuance of digital securities, all while staying in line with the Bank of England and the Financial Conduct Authority standards. This will be executed on distributed and programmable ledgers. This project will further establish the United Kingdom as a leading financial hub, says the Financial Conduct Authority. The watchdog has pledged to foster an environment cohesive to investments and long-term economic deployments, as long as they have a valid UK registration business of any size or storage may seek to join the DSS. So nobody's restricted from joining these testings. The Bank of England and the Financial Conduct Authority's digital sandbox, anybody can enter into it. If you essentially have a registered business and you're a blockchain company, anybody's welcome. Remember a very long time ago, a news article came out inside the crypto space, and it was Quant and the Bank of England. And everybody thought, the majority of people inside the crypto space thought that Quant is a partner of the Bank of England. See, everybody, what they did at that particular moment in time is either read misinformation news or just the title of the news. Because if you read more into that story, you would have known that Quant is not a partner of the Bank of England. Quant has never been a partner of the Bank of England. Quant was inside of a participation project, something similar to a digital sandbox, where any project can enter into it to test things out. That doesn't make you a partner. You have to pass the test, and then you become a partner. And since that news of Quant participation in the Bank of England's project, not much news came out of that one. So that participation didn't really end well in realistic terms. But yeah, if anybody was still, on that hope and dream of maybe Quant, not saying Quant is a bad project in any sort of a way, but if you were still on the thought process of Quant, Bank of England, don't want to crush that dream, but I have to, they were never partners. Quant was never a part of the Bank of England, ever, at all. It was a participation project that Quant entered into, something similar to Digital Sandbox, in other words. So, as long as they have a valid UK registration, business of any size or stage, they may seek to join this Digital Sandbox. That's what basically Quant did at that moment in time. And before Digital Sandbox, they used to just call it participation project. But now they call it Digital Sandbox, and anybody can enter. In March 2027, the Sandbox application window will be shut inside the United Kingdom. March 2027 is the ending of the Digital Sandbox for the United Kingdom. Now, why is 2027 the ending? Why is 2027 the deadline for the United Kingdom? Well, could it be because the essentially banks, for example, HSBC Bank, NatWest Bank, Lloyds Bank, even Bank of Scotland, essentially, and the rest of the banks inside the United Kingdom, all of their members, essentially their high-profile executive members, stated in 2023 that by 2027, there's not going to be any banks on the high streets in the United Kingdom. Again, by 2027, there's not going to be any banks on the high streets, is what NatWest Bank said, HSBC Bank said, Lloyds Bank said, Barclays Bank said, Santander Bank said. And ironically, the Digital Sandbox for the United Kingdom ends 2027. Same time, there's going to be no more banks on the high street. And this Digital Sandbox is for payments. So it's relatable. Giving regulators and enterprises the opportunity to move to a more permanent framework. There will be 4 phases to the Digital Sandbox as outlined by the Bank of England. Testing, these are the 4 phases in the Digital Sandbox. Testing, going live, scaling, and permanent. So, first, any crypto project enters the Digital Sandbox in the UK. And by the way, every country has their own Digital Sandbox pretty much. So it's the same method for every country. It's the same method for Singapore, same method for the US, same method for Canada, for the EU, for Singapore, for the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Bahrain, Japan, Australia. Every country has their own Digital Sandbox going on. So the same methods that are here is established there as well. So the methods are, you enter the Digital Sandbox and any crypto project can do it. They first test, then they go live, then they scale, and then it's permanent. And this is a Digital Sandbox for payments. Which means it's not by 2027 that the thing that it's permanent and that's it. And 2027 is when they close their doors and now it's permanent. No. During now until 2027, permanent can happen. Just put in that perspective as well. Giving that, essentially, the regulators and enterprise have the opportunity to move permanent frameworks, According to also the authorities, the second phase of the Digital Sandbox will include the issuance, trading, and settlements of actual digital securities that function similarly to conventional securities. So that's part 2 of the Digital Sandbox. But the 4 pillars are testing, going live, scaling, and permanent. So if you want to know what's the steps, what is the steps for these countries? How are these countries going into CBDCs? Everybody always wanted a blueprint. If you're inside the crypto space, you always wanted a blueprint of step by step. Well, here's a blueprint. And your blueprint, it's from a credible source. And your credible source is the Bank of England. It's not some random news company, it's the Bank of England. The Bank of England and the Financial Conduct Authority have stated how a Digital Sandbox works. Testing, step number 1 for crypto assets to be implemented in that country. Testing, going live, scaling, and permanent. That's your blueprint of how things are going to be established in every country. Through their sandbox and then to permanent. Now, what we're going to be talking about, because I bet you any money, nobody's given you that blueprint before, and I just have. Because everybody will give you estimates. Inside the crypto space, everybody will give you estimates. Oh, it's going to be this year. Oh, it's going to be next year. Oh, it's going to be that year. I've just given you a blueprint of what exactly happens. Does each step have a timeline or not necessarily? No. The steps don't have a timeline whatsoever. The timeline could be short for a particular crypto project. It could be longer for another crypto project. There's no particular timeline. But the timeline for the window to be completely shut is 2027. So after 2027, there's no more testings whatsoever. And this is for payments. They also have a sandbox essentially for other essentially aspects as well. Their second sandbox was for something else and so on. But no timeline whatsoever. And before 2027, they've got to have a CBDC out, because the UK is a competitor to the EU market space, believe it or not. So if the EU is going to be having their CBDCs coming out in 2025, the UK is going to be right behind them in 2025. The UK could not be extending into 2026 to 2027 unless they want to see how the EU market space does, and then they come out with theirs. Sometimes some countries will look at the other countries and say, okay, let's see how theirs works out before we implement ours. So the UK could take a step back and say, let's just see how the EU works out with their CBDC next year, and then we'll either release ours or we'll wait for the next year after that, or we'll release it towards the end of the year, 2025, for example. But the UK doesn't want to fall behind the EU in any sort of way. Also, the UK is the financial powerhouse of pretty much the world, you can even say. So when it comes to America, America is the number one. So Washington, D.C. is the political space of the world, okay? Washington, D.C. is the political space of the world. City of London is the money of the world. Vatican, well, you know what that one is. But that's basically how it goes. So the City of London cannot fall behind this digital financial space. And for all those who don't know about the City of London and so on, a very simple way to put it, the City of London is a provenance. It's outside the United Kingdom. The City of London is not really a part of the United Kingdom in any sort of way. It counts technically as a separate country, you could even say. It's a separate province, the City of London. And it's in the middle of London, where all the banks. In the City of London, the people have no votes. The bankers have all the votes. They have their own parliamentary system. They have their own police force. They have their own essential hospital force, or whatever force. They have their own systems going on in the City of London. And it counts technically as a separate country in the middle of London. And even when the United Kingdom was a part of the EU, the City of London was never a part of the EU. The Queen was not even allowed to enter the City of London. It was a separate province. So, essentially, Washington, D.C., also not essentially its own separate province. Washington, D.C. is the political space of the world. City of London is the money of the world. And Vatican. But yeah, the bankers control the City of London. They have all the votes. So the reason why I'm saying this is because the City of London cannot fall behind the EU, which means if the EU implements CBDCs next year, the City of London is going to be right behind them, because the money capital of the world cannot be slowing down. Now, obviously, everybody knows the money capital of the world as Switzerland. You know, the neutral country, the bank of the world. Yes, it's all true. But the dirty money is City of London. Now, hashtags is what we're going to talk about next. Hypothetical, there was a recession next year. Will this speed the process up? Yes, it definitely will. It definitely will. If people expect a recession to come in, if Wall Street expects a recession to come in, which this time around, I think they definitely will. I think Wall Street, you know, BlackRock, Vanguard, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Franklin Templeton, all these major institutions inside the United States especially, will be able to tell a recession is coming this time around. and they won't look essentially the other way at all. But by them telling what's going to be happening next, if they see a recession coming, then they're going to be hedging against the cryptocurrencies. And if a recession happens, everybody's going to be hedging against it with cryptocurrency. Some people will run towards gold, silver, but if you're smart enough, you'll run towards crypto assets, legitimate crypto assets at that moment in time. And Wall Street is head over heels right now in crypto assets, mainly because BlackRock was the one that kickstarted it on paper. This is a good step for the UK. Yes, it is, definitely. The blueprint, I mean, nice one. Let's go in. Hypothetical, yeah. So recession, yes, it will definitely speed up the process. How big is the City of London? Tiny. The City of London is tiny. It's just one land with just banks. The entire place is filled with banks and apartments. Just tall buildings, banks, and tall buildings, apartments. It's a banker's paradise. The American corporations, along with London and the Vatican, know the game, and it's just the game. Facts. So that's why the City of London cannot fall behind the EU when it comes to a new wave of digital finance. The UK cannot fall behind, neither can the City of London. If the City of London wants to be in digital payments, then the UK also needs to be in digital payments as well. Even though the UK is not a part of the City of London. Now, hashtags is what we're going to talk about next. Hashtag has just filed in their amendment, S1, for NASDAQ Crypto Index US ETF. The asset manager, Hashtags, has just submitted an amendment registration filing for a proposed exchange traded fund ETF designed as a one-stop shop cryptocurrency portfolio. According to an announcement today, the filing indicates continued progress for the crypto index ETF with the United States Exchange Commission, SEC, after the agency asked for more time to reach a decision on whether to authorize the fund for trading. The Hashtags NASDAQ Crypto Index US ETF will initially comprise essentially Bitcoin and Ethereum, the only assets currently included in the NASDAQ Crypto US Index. But many eventually expand to include additional virtual currencies, the filing said. So Hashtags could be getting ready to launch alternative ETFs inside the United States, according to their new filings today. Industry analysts say that crypto index ETFs are the next big focus for issuers, after ETFs holding BTC and Ethereum listed in January and July. The next logical step is index ETFs, because essentially indices are efficient for investors, just like how people buy the S&P 500 in an ETF. This will be the same in crypto, said Catalin, the head of investment research at crypto bank Senyong, told Cointelegraph in an interview. Asset manager Franklin Templeton is seeking to also launch a similar crypto index ETF, according to their recent filings. Franklin Templeton. So Franklin Templeton is about to be editing their ETF, in other words, in a very simple way to put it, and we could be expecting alternative ETFs other than Bitcoin and Ethereum. The Franklin Crypto Index ETF will track performance of the CF Institutional Digital Asset Index, which, like the NASDAQ Crypto US Index, currently only comprises BTC and Ethereum. Catalan said that crypto index ETFs are currently limited to Bitcoin and Ethereum because those are the only assets the SEC has authorized to be included in the ETFs so far. They intended to be in an index, and as long as only Bitcoin and Ethereum are approved, that's what it will consist of. Catalan said, she added that the demand is limited for new types of assets, single assets in ETFs, such as Solana, for example. So Catalan went on further to mention that the idea of an ETF for Solana is not that big inside the institutional space. Now, if you're holding Solana, you might think, well, this is bad news, or maybe I don't believe this news if you hold Solana. Some people don't tend to believe negative news on the asset that they're holding. But this is only negative news from Catalin's perspective from her firm. Other firms inside of Wall Street might actually like to have a Solana ETF. You never know. So total assets inside the United States ETFs surpassed. This is ridiculous, by the way. I mean, this figure point is quite high. So total assets in the United States, in terms of ETFs, have surpassed $10 trillion for the first time. It propelled in part of inflows of more than $20 billion in just cryptocurrency transactions in terms of ETFs in 2024. And the year has not even ended yet. According to data from Bloomberg Intelligence and fund researcher Morningstar. Crypto ETFs accounted for 13 of the 25 largest ETF launches in 2024. There were 25 ETF launches in 2024. Now, some were crypto-related out of the 25 ETFs that were launched in 2024. Some were crypto-related ETFs, and some were just other-related in terms of company-related ETFs. And out of those 25 essentially ETFs that are launched, 13 of them were cryptocurrencies. All 13 of them were highest on the list in terms of an ETF, of bringing in the most amount of money in 2024. By inflows tracked through the end of August. According to Nate Garcia, the president of ETF Store, an investment advisor specializing in ETFs. I mean, 13 of the Bitcoin, essentially Bitcoin Ethereum ETFs, 25 ETFs in general were launched in 2024. Mixture of crypto ETFs and other ETFs, and 13 of those ETFs were ranked number one. That's a ridiculous amount of money. The majority of the ETF money this year came from crypto ETFs for Wall Street. Now, this particular news I'm about to share, moving off the Wall Street essentially news regarding ETFs, moving on to another Wall Street news, but this one is humongous. A 7.1 trillion asset management firm is about to greenlight crypto assets. A 7.1 trillion asset management firm is about to be greenlighting crypto assets. So here it is. Green light to cryptocurrency trading from a $7.1 trillion asset firm. Charles Schwab. Charles Schwab, one of the world's largest asset managers, which previously had a distant stance towards Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, has begun to change its stance in the recent years. At this point, Charles Schwab, which has a $7.13 trillion essentially assets under management, has given the green light to cryptocurrency trading now. Speaking to Bloomberg, Charles Schwab CEO Walt said his company is ready to enter into the cryptocurrency market space and is open to offering crypto trading if regulations allow it. This man wants to go headfirst into cryptocurrencies. He's going to be trading on crypto assets he's allowed to trade on, and he said if the regulations get essentially a little bit more lenient and opened up in terms of regulations, he's going to go headfirst into crypto assets. He said if the regulations allow it, I'm going full frontal. The CEO of Charles Schwab, the largest brokerage firm in the United States, stated that the company could start trading cryptocurrencies if there are changes to regulatory laws inside the United States. And this is an interview that he did, the CEO interview on Bloomberg. And everybody on Wall Street watches Bloomberg like it's gospel. And Charles Schwab, CEO on Bloomberg, stating that he wants to go head first into crypto assets, and he has an asset firm, $7.13 trillion. Everybody on Wall Street just heard that. Stating that regulations regarding cryptocurrencies are currently unclear. The famous CEO stated that the company can take action quickly if this uncertainty is resolved. Experts said that if the US-based Charles Schwab starts offering crypto services to its clients, it could mean an inflow of up to $10 billion inside the crypto market space in a very short period of time. $10 billion in a short period of time. Because we are talking about a $7.13 trillion asset firm. Charles Schwab, CEO, on Bloomberg, stating that they've just greenlighted crypto assets. And if the regulations loosen up a little bit more, they're going to go head first and offer a collective of cryptocurrencies to their clients. And everybody on Wall Street just heard that and saw that. So everybody who's not in cryptocurrencies on Wall Street is now thinking to themselves, okay, maybe it's time to enter. Because on one hand, you have BlackRock, and now on the other hand, you have Charles Schwab. Yeah, now it's time to enter. Europe gathers a global experts to draft their codes, is what we're going to talk about next. The EU has MiCA regulations for cryptocurrencies, but what they don't have is a certain set of regulations for AI space, which is what's about to be happening in the EU right now. But before we go through that, let's go to the comment section. If anybody's got any questions, go for it. This is a live show, which means if you have any questions, put them down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. But the Charles Schwab news, Charles Schwab news is incredible, top-notch news. That he is about to be entering crypto space. And he announced it on an interview on Bloomberg. What a legend. Because he could have just announced it on a newspaper. You know, he could just went to Forbes and said, I'm going to be doing this. But he came onto Bloomberg, the #1 channel for everybody in Wall Street. And he said there, and he said, we're entering into crypto, we're greenlighting crypto. If regulations are a little bit more loose, we become essentially full frontal into crypto. And that if he enters in a short period of time, $10 billion will instantly become to the crypto space. Which is incredible, absolutely incredible. Him announcing it, him announcing on Bloomberg, even better. Now, let's go inside the comment section first before we talk about the AI. Before we talk about the AI and regarding EU news, which is also quite massive. The City of London has nice bars in as well. It does have, yes. If you do not mind, share the live. Family, very entertaining material here. Let's go CMF. If you do not mind, let's share the live. Yes, if you don't mind, share the live. Definitely, let's go Scott. Sorry, I'm late. Hi, Miles. Peg, good to see you. How you doing? How you been, Peg? It's Charles Schwab. Yeah, Charles Schwab. $7.13 trillion asset firm is pretty much in the ranks of the crypto space now. And what we're going to talk about next is the EU. Europe gathers a global experts to draft code of practice for AI. The European Union is making strides towards shaping the future of artificial intelligence with the development of their first ever general purpose AI code of practice for AI models under its AI Act. According to an announcement, the initiative is spearheaded by the European AI Office, and it brings together hundreds of global experts from academia, essentially industries, and civil societies to collaborate a draft framework that will address key issues such as transparency when it comes to AI technologies, copyright, risk assessment, and internal governance. So the EU has pretty much their crypto policies and stablecoin policies and blockchain policies in general on lockdown when it comes to MiCA regulations. But what it doesn't mainly cover is AI. Well, the EU is about to be getting AI regulations as well. Quite fast, a lot faster than everybody else. Nearly 1,000 participating in the Shape EU's essentially AI future. The kick-off essentially held online will nearly 1,000 participants mark the beginning of months-long process that will conclude with the final draft in April 2025. The code of practice is set to become a cornerstone for applying the AI Act to general-purpose AI models like large language models, LLMs, and AI systems integrated across various sectors. This session also introduced 4 working groups led by distinguished industry chairs and vice chairmen, which will drive the development of code of practice when it comes to AI technology in the EU. These include notable experts like Nura Oliver, an artificial intelligence researcher, and Alexandra, a German copyright law specialist. These groups will focus on transparency and copyright risk identification, technical risk mitigation, and internal risk management. There is a lot of issues with AI, and if AI is used by the wrong person, it could go very south. But that could apply to anything, to be fairly honest. Somebody could use their laptop for work purposes to make money. Somebody could use their laptop to hack somebody else. It always just depends on the user. Anything can be used for negative purpose. It just depends on the user. So there is a lot of positive to AI as well, but there's quite a lot of negative to AI as well. According to the European AI Office, these working groups will meet between October 2024 and April 2025 to draft provisions, gather stakeholder input, and redefine the code of practice through ongoing consultation, setting the stage for global AI governance. The EU's AI Act, passed by the European Parliament in March 2024, is a landmark piece of legislation that seeks to regulate technology across the bloc. It was created to establish a risk-based approach to AI governance. It categorizes systems into different risk levels, ranging from minimal to unacceptable, and mandates specific compliance measures as well. The Act is especially relevant to general-purpose AI models due to their broad applications and potential for significant societal impacts, often placing them in higher risk categories outlined by legislations. The multi-stakeholders consultation has already gathered 430 submissions. So basically, you know how just about 20 minutes ago on this live show, 20 minutes ago, we were talking about a digital sandbox where companies come in and test out their projects. Basically, is what it is. The EU has got 430 submissions. They come in and essentially see what works in AI, see what doesn't work in terms of legislation and policies to establish their regulations. And anybody can do this. Anybody can go and apply for this scenario if you have an AI established company or have an understanding of AI technology. The EU's goal is that by following April of these efforts will set a precedent for how general purpose AI models can be responsibly developed, deployed, and managed with a strong emphasis on minimizing risk and maximizing societal benefits. So there's your second blueprint for AI of what the steps are, of what the progress is going to be in the EU and everybody else, essentially everywhere else around the world. The steps for AI to be established within any legal framework is development, responsibly developed, deployed, managed, strong emphasis on minimizing risk in terms of people not using the AI technology you provide for negative behaviors, and maximizing societal benefits instead. As the global AI landscape evolves rapidly, this effort will likely influence AI policies worldwide, which it will do. Because if the EU sets the standard for AI technology in terms of policies and legislations, other countries are going to take notes, and they're going to be using what AI, essentially what the EU established for their own legal framework. We have some minor adjustments, but the EU is doing the hard work for them, which is coming up with the regulations. Especially as more countries look into the EU for guidance on regulating emerging technologies, which is true. The West does really look to the EU, to be fairly honest. I mean, in Asia, Hong Kong is leading itself forward. Singapore is leading itself forward. Japan just reopened their doors fully. They're leading itself forward as well. In the Middle East, I mean, the United Arab Emirates is doing wonders when it comes to their own essentially regulations and policies, and Kuwait is doing wonders. Bahrain is doing, and Qatar, they're moving forward in their own policies as well. But in the West, they tend to look at the other countries as well. They look at Singapore, which is advancing beyond everybody else. They look at the United Arab Emirates advancing beyond most countries as well, and Hong Kong and so on. But in the West, they do tend to look at the EU. The UK especially looks at the EU. They're looking at every footstep the EU takes to see how they can implement their policies as well. And so is the US. They're looking towards the EU as well, because that establishes what they are more than the Asian countries, the Middle Eastern countries. Because some of the regulations and policies in the Middle Eastern countries, for example, are also religious purpose, essentially regulations and policies as well. And some of the Asian countries have their own scenarios going on as well. But the European countries, they're more similar in terms of legislation policies. But again, every country will have minor adjustments. But the EU is moving forward on AI, in other words. It's good news. The faster they move forward on AI, the faster the investments will come through from investment firms, VC firms, and so on. Funding will start flowing into AI. AI projects inside the crypto space will start thriving because of legislation policies, which is more institutions from the EU market space will be entering into AI crypto projects or AI companies in general, especially ones that are going IPO, which in general, positive. So, Charles Schwab's just opened a new facility in Texas. I wonder if they are linked in Texas crypto coin and they are trying to create interesting perspective, Peg. Thank you for letting me know regarding Charles Schwab opening up a new facility in Texas. Could have some relations to it regarding their Texas coin. It could have some relations to it. You never know. With the corporations, you never know. They're always very sleazy. Saying that, I'm also from the corporate sector. So we've also reached the endings of tonight's live show as well. All good things must come to an end. And this was, if you were watching this for the first time and you were confused on what this is and who am I and why am I sharing some news with you. So my name is Miles. I go by the name of Crypto Miles. And this live show is essentially the CMF live show, which the CMF stands for Crypto Miles Family. And I do this live show every single night, 11:25 p.m. UK time onwards, United Kingdom time onwards. And I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world every night. In terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about what's really happening around the world. Not only by sharing the news, but I also break down the news and simplify the news. So it's easier to understand for a lot of people. Because they tend to overcomplicate things on the news, and they tend to always overcomplicate documentations and data as well on purpose, which then I break it down and share it in a much more simpler way, simpler form as well. So if you are new inside the crypto space, or if you're a pro inside the crypto space, this is still an amazing live show to watch. And if you enjoyed this live show, you can tune into it every single night on X Live or on YouTube Live. This is episode 171. Sorry, this is episode 170 of the CMF live show. Episode 171 is pretty much happening tonight, you could say, because it's 1 a.m. right now. So this is CMF live show. It's every night, 11:25 p.m. UK time onwards on X Live, on YouTube Live. If you enjoyed this live show, drop a follow. If you watch this for the first time ever, drop a follow if you watch us on X. Subscribe if you haven't and you're watching this on YouTube. And also join the Telegram group of this live show as well. The Telegram group of this live show is completely free. By the way, this live that you're watching right now is also free every single night, completely free. Anybody's more than welcome to join in, and also especially get involved inside the comment section. I love it when everyone gets involved inside the comment section. Even if you are new, don't be shy. If you have a question, go for it. Also, join the Telegram group as well. Completely free as well, for life. Amazing people inside of it. Everybody's very respectful. Everybody's very helpful also. So if you can't find a Telegram group, direct message me. I'll send you a link so you can join into it. Yeah, if you enjoy this live show, subscribe. If you already haven't, if you haven't followed me, follow me. If you haven't retweeted, retweet, like, comment, go for it. Share. Do whatever you want. We came to the endings of tonight's live show. This was the CMF live show, everyone. Thanks, Miles. Good night, everyone. See you tomorrow. Orphan, see you tomorrow same time as usual. Thanks, Miles, for all that you do for our family daily. Let's go, Scott. See you tomorrow about the same time as usual. Great live, boss. Let's go, Cal. See you tomorrow. Orphan, see you tomorrow. Mike, good night, Miles. And CMF, take care. And see you tomorrow night. See you tomorrow, Mike. Thanks, Miles. As always, Miles. Very interesting news tonight. Let's go, Shelly. See you tomorrow same time as usual. Good night, Miles and CMF. Very interesting live, Miles. See you all tomorrow. Free and forever. See you tomorrow same time as usual. Night and day to CMF. Let's go, Shelly. Facts. More corporations are sleazy. Great live as always, Miles. Take care, Miles and family. Ray, see you tomorrow, brother, sometimes as usual. Thank you, Miles. Peg, let's go. See you tomorrow, sometimes as usual. For your information, Miles is free. He's always been free. He's never requested money for this help in our group or personally. That's true. I've never asked for money. Miles, remind the CMF about voting in the poll again. Yes, CMF, go and vote inside the Telegram. There's a poll. Go check it out and choose which time. Should we change the time of the live show, because we've been doing 170 episodes for 11:25 p.m. onwards. Should we do 11 o'clock? Your choice. Go inside the Telegram. Go put a vote down. Shelly's made the poll for everyone. Go show some appreciation and put a vote down. Good night, Miles and family. Great live. Many thanks. See you tomorrow. Ian, see you tomorrow sometime as usual. All good things come to end. Unfortunately, it's time to turn off my CMF TV. Thanks, Miles, for clarifying the news in a simple way. Very good work as usual. Let's go, Carol. See you tomorrow sometime as usual. Good night, everyone. Thanks for the amazing live, Miles. Let's go. But XRP. See you tomorrow sometime as usual. Good night, brother Miles, and God bless. Kali, God bless, and see you tomorrow sometime as usual. Mike, let's go, brother. See you tomorrow sometime as usual. Crypto Miles family, one word on Telegram. Yes, if you want to search for the Telegram group of this live show, just go on Telegram, search Crypto Miles family, one word, no spaces. Crypto Miles family, and join. The link is also on X and YouTube. If you can't find it, just search Crypto Miles family. It's all in one word. And or just direct message me on X if you still can't find it. No problem. So, everybody have a great day and a good night. Miles, respect. Let's go, Scott. Respect, brother. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. See everybody tonight, same time as usual, 11:25 p.m. UK time onwards. Follow me if you already haven't, to be tuned for the next live shows. Good night, everyone. Mad respect for you, brother. Let's go, Scott. Respect to you as well, brother.